Morning, guys. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training. Heading into town, and I'm way out in the boonies. I'm about 11 miles out, so it takes me 10, 15, 20 minutes to drive into town. Usually get some breakfast, and then if I have dogs in the back, I'll go to the park and work them. You see my videos coming from there, and then sometimes you see it from my property out where I'm at. But I get to thinking sometimes, and it gives me a chance to kind of get a Yack session in, But every dog is different. We've talked about that. Work the dog in front of you lately has been my little themes that I've been getting into, and you'll usually see the dogs I'm working at, and you'll see me doing some slant basically towards either the customer that I'm trying to educate and trying to point out some things to them, and or the dog that I'm working, because I'm struggling through getting through the dog to work. And it's always that way. I don't care how many years experience you have. You're always going to have a dog that throws you little curves and gives you little things. Right now, I'm thinking about Draco. Draco has let's not call it a problem. The challenge with Draco is that he has a tendency to go flat when you're trying to get him to work, because all he wants to do is go up and drive and go after the bad guy, go after the tugs, whatever it may be. And his drive states are such that you've got to keep him going and keep him happy. And how are you going to do that? You're either going to do it with food, or you're going to do it with motivational tools. And this is true with every dog. But Draco's showing that to be the case all the more so. Usually I don't find it that hard to trick the dog and to get him into drive and keep his motivational direction going in the directions that I want. And basically you're tricking the dog, right? You're getting him to work in a play state and to give you what you want, and it becomes behavior over time, right? But I do this now and then. All of a sudden I got into one of the podcasts this morning, early in the morning. You're laying there and I start listening to my podcast. So one of the trainers that keeps getting sent to my feed is a purely positive trainer, and she's a very well-known trainer, and she does a really, I like to call some of these podcasts campy, meaning they're kind of like really syrupy. Yeah. And they put a lot of digital magic, and they do a lot of fluff, and they get pretty campy, some of them. And I don't enjoy, I listen to them, and I get into trying to figure out what their points of view are and what are they trying to convey to you learning-wise. But the syrupy, over-the-top, campy bullshit just, it's almost like taking the fingernails on the chalkboard and screeching down it and getting you, it gives me the chills, right? Well, that's what a couple of these people do, and she's kind of like that. I can only put up with so much of it, and I just kind of, I get out, But her point of view on one of her podcasts this morning was relating to, and this is a purely positive trainer. In fact, she made a comment about compulsive trainers. I must feel it be in that category. I love to see the slants, and I do it, I guess, too, because I'm talking about that side, and I'm putting a negative on their side of the fence in regards to them being purely positive and not working in all the quadrants, and then they make comments about our side, so it never ends, right? And at the same time, the good trainers, I like to think that I'm fair to middling, learn from each other. I watch their feeds. I see what they're talking about. I see their slants, and I see the value in it, I may not agree with their negativity in my direction, but I do agree with a lot of the science behind the training. I've learned a lot from them, So it's not all a negative that I'm trying to point out. But what her point was her mentor, I guess, used to be Bob Bailey, and Bob Bailey is very well respected, and that means she's made her bones. She's been training for a lot of years. And so I heard what she was saying, and I took it to heart. And she was basically pointing out that a dog is nothing more than an emotional state of mind. In other words, their emotional state is everything to us in training. And that's what we're doing when we take it to food. Puts the dog in an emotional state of mind. A certain, you hear me talking about drive state, right? That's nothing more than an emotional state of mind. When I say drive state, that's what I'm talking about. It's that they're emotional states of mind that allow you to be able to manipulate them in such a way that you create behaviors that you're after. I mean, that's just reality, right? So with Draco, the little Dutch Shepherd that I'm working, not the Shepherd, the Draco, the Dutch Shepherd, he is very affected by emotional states of mind. And by listening to that comments that she made on that thing where she was talking about that when you're doing this, that's nothing more than manipulating the dog's emotional states of mind, and she's totally right on. And she clued it into Pavlov to create behaviors, and then over time, those behaviors that are created will be where the dog's mental state of mind is at with the work that you get, right? And what are we looking for when we're talking about competitive sports like anything that you're doing? AKC doesn't matter, and especially in Schutzen and certain sports, they're more critique in these areas of emotional states of mind, right? So that being the case, it's a very relative thing, because that's what we want. I want the behaviors, but I want a behavior that has an emotional state of mind that I'm looking for. I don't want a flat dog, and that's what Draco keeps giving me. He's constantly flat in the work, and it bugs me, especially with the Dutch Shepherd. Now I can turn that on anytime I want to, bring out the ALM tugs. He's a little more flat for the balls. He doesn't care about the balls as much as he does the ALM tug, right? So this being the case, I am going to go with Draco, the Dutch Shepherd, and start doing a lot more play than I've even been doing now. I've been doing a lot of it, but I'm going to really get into swinging everything towards that states of mind and making, just really spiraling him up in those areas. And then you can tone him down later, because he's so affected by this, right? He's so affected by states of mind that you can relate to. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the next week or so. And the goal is to get him more high on the balls than he is, because he's more flat for the balls. He doesn't care about those as much as he does the ALM tug or the tugs, okay? Why is that? The tugs have an association towards that material that's used in the suits. Okay? And then you're getting into a game that's a little bit more associated towards the fight that the decoy gives him, right? Tugs versus balls, right? He doesn't have the same association. There's not the same material. He's more fixated on his feel in his mouth, right? That is shown by the fact that he hangs on to that, and he'll sit there and he's self-satisfied. He's not chomping. He's not chewing. He's not playing with it. He's self-satisfied just by having that texture in his mouth. Why is that? Because that dog has been set in a nice calm bite by the way he's been worked before, that has allowed him to learn to stay on the bite. And that gets, because they didn't want him popping him off the bite. So much of this is the conditioning that you've already conditioned the animal in, that gets fixated in the dog's head. And you have to be able to feel it. You got to be able to sense it and know and analyze. Everything I do is analyzation. You're analyzing it constantly. So that's what I'm going to kind of do with Draco. I know I've got to take him that way, or I'm going to end up creating a flat dog as far as his work. I don't want him flat. I want him animated. So it's going to take a little bit of work to get him in that spot. We're going to have to do a lot more play games, a lot more bringing him out. And it's unusual, because the Dutch Shepherd's usually not that way, but he's just sensitive. He's a very sensitive dog, And I find that to be the case with Malleys and Dutchies in general when they're young. They're very sensitive. They're very affected by anything that hits them in a first event learning type of way, or something you can get to take hold and start a flow with. And when they're younger, it really sticks with them. That's why they're one of the best dogs to work, because they are so affected by these things. And if you're a good trainer, you can use that to your advantage, right? But it's also a double-edged sword. You do the wrong thing. Buddy's a great example of that. He got affected by first event learning, because somebody was jumping at him and startling him when he was a puppy and thought it was cute. And they were out to ruin the dog, and they did a good job of it. They ruined my dog, but it is what it is. I have to deal with it now, and then you learn and you grow from trying to fix that problem. And it's going to take some work. It's going to take some work, but Ted's right on the right vein right now. I'm really enjoying that. So, all right, so we're getting into town. I'm going to pull into my normal morning spot, eat some breakfast, and start my day. I thank you very much, Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training, yakking at the screen about dogs as always. You guys have a good day now. Bye-bye.